Hey athletes, happy Monday. Coach Sandra here. I wanted to get together today to talk about meal timing and intermittent fasting. But before I get into that, I did want to go ahead and just do a recap of our goals with Nail Your Nutrition. So we started out week 1. We wanted to just focus on reading the labels. And then week 2, we layered on no alcohol. So I did want to see where you guys are at with that and see if we're still on track with that. And how are we doing with our savory breakfast? How are we doing with adding or having veggies at the start of our meal and ending our meal with a starchy carb? Is anyone noticing any difference with their energy levels there? All right. I will say for me, I think the big thing with making sure that I start my meals with a vegetable is the fact that it definitely made me think twice about making sure that I have some form of a vegetable in my meal for lunch and dinner. Because as you all well know, if we're on the go and we're picking up a sandwich or something like that, then maybe we're not getting those vegetables in. And obviously, the more fruits and vegetables that we can get into our daily routine, the better off we're going to feel, okay? Because we're getting all those great micronutrients in. So give yourself a check there. If you feel like you are hitting on the savory breakfast and the veggies at the start of your meal and the starchy carbs at the end of your meals, then I want you to give yourself a gold star in the gym, and I want you to give me a thumbs up here, okay? And let's not forget too that, whatever protocol we're talking about here, whether we're doing 6 meals a day or we're doing intermittent fasting and it might be more like 2 meals a day, the goal here is always going to be finding that delicate balance that enables us to build muscle and burn fat. And in this case, we actually want to be inefficient with our calorie burn, right? We want to be able to be burning more calories at rest so that we're maximizing on the fat burn, even when we're not working out or exercising. So in some cultures and societies, they might be more of like, back in caveman days where we're more like foraging, running around, things like that. And we needed to be very efficient with our calories because we didn't know where that next meal was going to be coming from. But in our modern society, we always know where the food's coming from. Food is in not short supply. So we actually don't want to we want to actually be very inefficient with our calorie burn and be burning as many calories as we can, even when we're at rest. So the best way to do that in our modern society, where we typically have a sedentary or more sedentary lifestyle, is to have more muscle mass so that you're just naturally burning more calories at rest. So the best way to do that is, again, to make sure that we are not cutting our calories so low that our body thinks it's in starvation mode and it starts to pull from that precious muscle mass instead of pulling from your stored fat. So it's definitely finding that sweet spot between being in a caloric deficit, but yet not going so low that we start to sacrifice that precious gold that we have in the form of muscle mass. So because muscle mass is very expensive, calorically speaking, it takes more calories and more energy for your body to maintain muscle mass than it does to maintain fat or anything else. So if your body feels or senses that it's in starvation mode and you're going too low on our calories and we're not getting enough of those macronutrients in, then it will start to automatically pull from that great muscle mass savings account to and break it down because it thinks that we need to be smaller and more calorie efficient by sacrificing that muscle mass. So it's definitely going to be finding that sweet spot where we're burning as many calories as we can at rest, and not going so low on our daily calories that we start to lose that precious muscle mass. So On the one end of the extreme, you've got meal timing where, maybe you've seen some professional bodybuilders where they literally meal prep 6 meals a day and they are very regimented and they have maybe a meal or a snack every like 2 to 3 hours throughout the whole day. And they've got their whole day planned ahead of them. All their food is already prepped. That's quite a lot of work, right? And that's not necessarily going to be for everybody, but that segment of the population that is preparing 6 meals a day, that is because maybe they're relatively close to their ultimate body composition goals, and for them to move that needle just that little bit more, they really have to be in tune with refueling their body and really matching that calorie in versus calorie out, and not letting their body sacrifice any of that precious muscle that they've worked so hard to build. So that's why you're going to see, folks that are trying to build as much muscle mass as possible. Yes, they're going to be utilizing 6 meals a day. They're not necessarily in a mode where they're trying to just shrink down overall. They're trying to build up as much muscle as possible, and less concerned with trying to shed the body fat while they're in that mode, and primarily focus on building muscle. So they really want to focus on making sure that their body feels that it's being properly fueled constantly and not in starvation mode by any means at all, to help encourage and elicit as much muscle build as possible. So you've got that on the one extreme, like 6 meals a day of meal timing, down to on the opposite end of the extreme, you've got various forms of fasting, right? So fasting in maybe your more religious sense can be literally, not eating anything for, days at a time, or maybe we don't eat until the evening time. So that's going to be more like intermittent fasting. So there are definitely a lot of cultures, and a lot of religions that might utilize fasting, just more from a meditative state, or trying to achieve a euphoric state. So that's going to be your opposite end of the extreme, right? So we've got 6 meals a day down to maybe eating nothing a day. And then somewhere in between, you've got a different range of your meal timing, anywhere from 2 to 3 meals a day up to the 6 meals a day. And then the opposite end of that is, utilizing intermittent fasting, where yes, you're fasting, but you are determining how many hours in between, you're taking a break and delaying a refeed, to elicit, again, your body to go into a mode where it's going to start pulling from the stored fat, and maximizing on the fat burn. But again, trying to find that delicate balance where you're not sacrificing any of that muscle mass. So depending on what your goals are, like for religious purposes, if we're fasting multiple days at a time, they're not necessarily looking at, I've got to make sure I preserve as much muscle mass as possible. They're doing it from a religious sense, from a meditative state. They're doing it for other reasons other than pure body composition. So, anyone that's trying to literally change their body composition and to look more toned, have more muscle mass, look more athletic, reduce their body fat composition, you're not necessarily going to do just this fasted state, because you're going to let that muscle mass release at the same rate as your fat mass. So fasting in its purest sense is definitely not a great strategy for somebody that's trying to recomposition their bodies. Okay, so let's talk about everything in between. Give me a thumbs up if you've ever done intermittent fasting before. So your more typical intermittent fasting protocol is going to be where you delay refeeding anywhere from 12 up to maybe 16, 18 hours. Okay. So I will say for women, that's definitely going to be more challenging. You can do intermittent fasting maybe in a short period of time, but my personal professional opinion, I don't believe that intermittent fasting more than 14 hours at a time is going to be beneficial in the long run for women because of all the hormonal impacts that we have there. Men, it's a little bit less of an issue. Scientific studies have shown that men can go 16 hours at a time. But again, at the same time, I'm messaging to you guys, the longer term win is that we want to keep focusing on increasing the muscle mass while we decrease the fat mass at the same time. So the longer we have that intermittent fasting window, the more we're going to put ourselves at risk to be burning that precious muscle mass, that precious gold that we work so hard for in camp every day. So, it's a safe place to be with that intermittent fasting protocol if we want to use it for just a period of time where we want to have a little bit more heightened focus. A safe bet is going to be somewhere between 12 to 14 hours. So what that means is that you're going to cut off your eating window in the evening, preferably like 2 to 3 hours before you go to bed, so that we can maximize on that recovery cycle that your body goes through while you're sleeping. And then we end that window at the most critical time where we want to be refueling. So a lot of us, we might get our workouts in at like 5:30, 6:30, 7:30, 8:30, 9:30 in the morning. So ideally, we do want to break that fast or that intermittent fast, whether it's a 12 or a 14-hour window. We want to line up breaking our fast with our workout time. So, and this is where, I would highly recommend that you schedule a focus meeting to dial in on your more specific situation and get more guidance there. But ideally, you do want to, if it's a strength training day, I highly recommend that you break that fast before you go in. Like tomorrow, it's leg day. So, the legs are the biggest muscles in the body. So you definitely want to fuel for performance on a leg day. So I do highly recommend, if you are going to do like a 14-hour intermittent fasting window, that let's just say you're coming to the 9:30 camp for leg day. You want to end that fast by 8:30 in the morning so that you can fuel your muscles properly with some form of a carb. It doesn't need to be anything major, but probably somewhere about, 15 grams of carbs. And again, making sure that we complement those carbs with some veggies and some protein so that we blunt that blood glucose spike. Break that fast about an hour before your workout so that we can fuel that performance. Your body has enough time to digest those critical carbs. We go into our workout fueled, and then we make sure that we properly refuel after the workout. So ideally on like a leg day, you want to make sure you get in a protein shake. That's a nice liquid, easily digestible form of protein. Maybe throw like a half a banana to a full banana in there. You could even play around with doing some sweet potatoes. You can throw sweet potatoes in your shake. You can throw some berries in there. So that way we make it a little bit more of a meal post-workout, and you refuel those carbs right after. Because again, related to meal timing, you want to try and pair your calories in versus your calories out every day as best as possible. But especially on a day like a leg day, you want to make sure that you're refueling those muscles with the carbs, with the protein, so that they can start the repair process with the protein, but then also refueling the glucose and glycogen within your muscles so that you're ready to go for the next day. And post-workout is a prime time to refuel those muscles and restock them with glycogen stores so that you're ready to go the next day. Your body physically opens up the cells to allow those carbs to get stored within your muscles post-workout. So definitely do not be afraid to refuel your body with carbs pre and post-workout with things like bananas, fruits, sweet potatoes, rice, things like that, depending on what your workout time is, okay? So that's one thing related to meal timing and related to the intermittent fasting. You want to focus your carbs around that workout time or around the times that you have more physical activity so that you can better match your calories in versus your calories out. And then if we are going to layer on top that intermittent fasting protocol, you want to make sure that you're breaking your fast to pair up with what your workout time is, especially if we're working out in the morning. So let me give you an example of what I would consider not ideal if we are implementing that intermittent fasting protocol. I think what a lot of people typically do when they implement the 14 to 16 hour intermittent fasting window, they just skip breakfast. But if you are one of those folks that works out in the morning, you don't want to be skipping breakfast. You're just going to be, kind of like a dog chasing its own tail, and you're not going to be able to properly refuel your body post-workout if we're waiting several hours after like something big like a leg day to refuel. You're working against yourself. You're literally a hamster on a wheel when we do that. So let's say we're part of the Rooster Crew. Let's say we work out at 5 a.m. So if we work out at 5 a.m. and we want to get a 12 to 14 hour window in, really the ideal thing to do is you got to cut off your food by 3 p.m. if you want to have a 14 hour window before you get your workout in. All right. So that's quite early in the day. But I will say that there has been a lot of scientific research that shows if we are going to implement that intermittent fasting protocol, you are better off actually cutting off your meal or your feeding window earlier in the day, so that again you're better matching your calories in versus your calories out. If you think about the typical balance of your day, you're getting the bulk of your activity in earlier in the day. We tend to kind of wind down towards the end of the day. We're not getting as much physical activity in. And so, you're going to be better matching your consumption in versus your expenditure out of calories if we cut off that window earlier in the day. Here's the thing. I get it. We all have families. We have dinner times and we want to eat our meals together. So that's where you, again, have to look at your individual circumstances and try and navigate what is the best way that I incorporate this intermittent fasting. And maybe the 14-hour window isn't the best way to incorporate it because maybe we do want to eat dinner with our families at 5 or 6 o'clock at night, but yet we do also work out at 5 o'clock in the morning, and we want to get the carbs around that workout time. Well, maybe another option for you would be maybe we only incorporate the intermittent fasting on the weekends, when you're not coming in for a workout, or maybe where we have a little bit more flexibility with when we eat dinner on the weekends and when we have breakfast on the weekends, relative again to do we work out on Saturday mornings? Do we not work out on Saturday mornings? Maybe we just focus more on active recovery on the weekends. So think about realistically what's going to work with your life schedule, what's going to work relative to your body recomposition goals. And again, let's utilize those focus meetings to really take a deep dive if you really have some, oddball life schedules to where you're having difficulties trying to figure out what is the best methodology for you to use. But again, both of those protocols, meal timing and intermittent fasting, the thought is that when we're in a fasted state, whether it's just 3 to 4 hours in between meals, or we're going, 12 to 16 hours in between meals, the thought is when we're in that fasted state, that's the time that our body is burning into the stored fat. So there definitely are advantages. We don't want to be grazing all day long where we're literally eating something every hour, because then we are training our bodies to not be metabolically flexible. So the more we graze, the more our bodies become reliant on the carbs that you're consuming constantly throughout the day. Your body is not metabolically adaptable to actually not using the carbs that you're feeding it constantly and tapping into the stored fat. So you do want to have some form of a fast throughout the day. And I think a great long-term strategy is to make sure that you do have 3, maybe 4 hours in between each meal to where your body can metabolically adapt and start tapping into the stored fat in between meals. But in order for that to happen, you do want to make sure that each meal that you're getting all the great micronutrients in from the veggies. You're getting a good source of protein in. That's at least 20 grams of protein. And then you're ending your meal with some type of a starchy carb to keep you satisfied and fueled through to the next 3 hours, where you'll refeed at the end of that 3 to 4 hour window. So again, just my professional opinion, I think that sweet spot is not grazing all day and, nudging yourself in the right direction to where you're eating enough at each meal, not just like little snacks constantly, sitting down, having a proper meal, preparing whatever you need to ahead of time, buying the pre-chopped veggies so it's ready to go to throw into a bowl, making a batch of quinoa or rice or whatever it is ahead of time so that you can put a scoop of your quinoa or your rice in there, and whatever kind of a protein that works for you, whether it's, prepackaged tuna, maybe we grill some salmon or some chicken over the weekend, and having stuff ready to go so that you're not getting cut short and having to go out to eat, and then relying on food sources where you don't necessarily know how healthy all those ingredients are that you're getting from those takeout sources. So the more we can plan and prepare ahead of time, and literally, be consistent with that time frame. If we consistently come to camp at 5 a.m., we want to consistently, have our post-workout shake and our post-workout meal within an hour after that workout. Then from there, you want to go ahead and try and schedule your meals about every 3 to 4 hours after that to elicit that metabolic adaptability from our bodies. All right. So, what do you guys think? Is anyone thinking about potentially incorporating intermittent fasting into your current protocol? Where are we at right now? Are we giving ourselves like a 3-hour window before we go to bed at nighttime to not eat anything? Is that maybe our biggest opportunity with the snacking and stuff like that? If it is, that's where, again, if we pair our calories in with our calories out a little bit better earlier in the day, then you're going to find that it's going to be easier for you to not get into the snacking in the evening time. And that's where I feel like a lot of us get into trouble, right? Maybe we're watching something on TV. We're exhausted from the day. We're trying to just, relieve our stress. And sometimes, we're going to reach for that not so healthy ice cream or a cookie or whatnot to kind of help us get that little dopamine hit and help us relieve our stress from the day. But if the more we properly fuel ourselves earlier in the day, you will notice that you're going to be less inclined to engage in those kind of unhealthier habits. All right. Let me see here. What else have I not gone through yet? I think, again, that sweet spot, trying to get that 3 hours with no food before you go to sleep. And then, 3 to 4 hours, again, it's been scientifically shown over and over again. That's where your body can practice metabolic flexibility, tap into the stored fats, and take advantage of all those great micronutrients that you're going to be getting from all those veggies that you're eating at the start of your meal, right? Everyone's getting their veggies in, right? So any questions there? Let me give you an opportunity. Any questions? Go ahead. Feel free to, post them here, and I'd love to answer it live with you to get a little bit more interaction going both ways. I know I'm throwing a lot at you. Is there anything else related to intermittent fasting or meal planning? Any questions there that I could answer for you? Meal planning, again, or meal timing, I should say, the sweet spot is going to be honestly what works with your life schedule. So if, you'd love to get 6 meals a day, but you're just finding that it's just way too time consuming, way too frustrating, maybe 4 meals a day is going to be the sweet spot for you. Okay. And we're not necessarily sacrificing any muscle mass by doing 4 meals versus 6 meals. As long as, we're getting it in and we're trying as best as possible to match our calories in versus our calories out, your body is going to work with you instead of against you. So, don't stress out too much about that. Now, on the other extreme, some of you might have heard of, people eating one meal a day. Again, if our goal is to try and build as much muscle or maintain as much muscle as we can, I'm going to say that that's probably not the best protocol for you. You are going to end up sacrificing muscle mass if you're literally going 23 hours between your refeeds. That's just going to be way too long for your body to be able to hang on to that precious gold. Okay. So, you've got your pure fasting down to like one meal a day on the one end, up to like 6 meals a day. Find that sweet spot where you can get some metabolic flexibility built into your daily schedule. See if we can go to the 3 to 4 hours in between meals. If not, maybe you need to make each meal a little bit bigger so that you can last a little bit longer. And you will find it's going to help with those sugar cravings too, because you're going to find your energy levels are more even throughout the day. Let me ask you this. How are we doing on the alcohol? Last week was the first week of no alcohol. Are we continuing to read labels? How did we do on the alcohol consumption? I'm going to tell you, I did have a glass of wine over the weekend. I had my 10-year wedding anniversary. So yes, we had a glass of wine. To me, I didn't earn the gold star that day. But again, to you guys, you got to think about where you are, in the grand scheme of things, what is going to be a bunny slope for you versus what is going to be a black diamond for you. Okay. So don't take on this challenge at the black diamond level. It's not going to be sustainable. You want to find that sweet spot in between that bunny slope and that black diamond to where you're going to be in it for the long haul. So if currently, you went from having a glass of wine every night, maybe it's not totally feasible to go a whole week without any kind of alcohol. So if that's your situation, see if we can get it down to 2 glasses of wine per week. All right. And I want to challenge you with that for the rest of this challenge, because quite honestly, the more we can minimize alcohol, 0 is going to be the best, but that's the lowest hanging fruit on this challenge. All right, guys. And then next week, I'm going to challenge you guys, to, I believe it's no added sugar. So let me clarify that. I'll put it in the comments section. I got to look at that Nailing Your Nutrition again. But, think about as we're reading those labels, where are we at with our added sugar? And maybe 0 added sugar is too much of a black diamond for you. But can we look at how many grams of sugar we have right now? And maybe our goal is to reduce it by 30%. Okay. So, if we're logging our food in MyFitnessPal, you can scroll to the bottom. There's a button that says nutrition. Click on that. And then at the top, I believe you hit something that says nutrients, and it's going to tell you, like, for the day, how many grams of sugar did you have? If you're above 50 grams of sugar, then you want to look at, what am I eating throughout the day that I could start chipping away at? Am I utilizing, and granted, if we utilize maple syrup or honey, it's going to be a little bit better than cane sugar. But, maybe are we having a couple of chocolate chip cookies at the end of the day? Could we, instead of having 3 chocolate chip cookies, could we maybe make it 1 chocolate chip cookie? Or could we maybe replace the chocolate chip cookie with something else that's a little bit healthier? Maybe we do a Greek yogurt where we sprinkle a few chocolate chips on top. You could even, use your sugar-free chocolate chips like Lily's. Lily's is a great alternative to the full sugar chocolate chips, all right? So think about ways where you can still, satisfy that little bit of a sweet tooth that we might still be having as we transition to more whole foods, but make it a little bit healthier choice by making it a lower sugar option that's going to, again, just help you keep those energy levels more even and ultimately help you have less sugar cravings. Sugar does crave sugar. So the more we eat the cookies, the more we're going to crave the cookies because it gives us that dopamine hit. And then we're just never satisfied, right? Because there's nothing that blunts that blood glucose spike. So we get that high, we get that crash, and then we're right back to where we started from. We get that dopamine hit. We want another hit because we want to get those sugar levels high again. So we got to get off that roller coaster and look for little ways to continue to move the needle in the right direction, and think about making those little swaps that are going to get us there. All right. Let me know if you guys have any little hacks that you've implemented over these last couple of weeks that have helped you. Has anyone tried the chia seeds? Has anyone tried incorporating the hemp seeds, maybe with your Greek yogurt or your coconut yogurt? Maybe we sprinkle it on top of our salads. Maybe you could make actually overnight oats with the chia seeds, with the hemp seeds. If anyone's given that a try, let me know. I know for me, by incorporating those different seeds, it definitely helps me feel very full and satisfied. And it helps, keep me with a more even energy level throughout the morning. Cause you guys, I'm running around with you guys in camp, pretty much all week long. So I need, something like that has the fiber in it, but it still has the carbs in it so that it allows me to have a more energy level, throughout the morning so that I can keep up with you guys. What else? Any questions here, guys? What's up, Tatiana? What's up, Holly and Shannon and Elizabeth? Thanks for joining in. What's up, Gina? Is anyone still putting sugar in their coffee? I know some of us, maybe we're, I think Coach Jamie had mentioned before that she likes to put coffee and heavy cream. So that's fine. There's no sugar in that. Heavy cream does not have any sugar in it. So if you're finding that you still need a little creaminess in your coffee, I'm not saying to cut out creamers completely. But what I am saying is that, if you're starting your day with no breakfast in your tummy and you go straight to coffee with International Delight Creamer in your coffee, or we're adding cream and sugar, that is not a good way to start the day. It's definitely going to start you off on the right foot with your blood glucose levels. You need to get the protein and the veggies and the fiber going first thing in the morning so that we can be set up for success with those blood glucose levels all day long. It really sets the tone for the whole day. I know I sound like a broken record, guys, but I can't tell you how many times I tell you guys the message, and I know a lot of you are listening and really absorbing it, and you're doing a great job with, incorporating all these changes into your daily routine. But sometimes some of us need to hear that message more than once. And I know even for myself, I need to hear it more than once. I need to constantly repeat it to myself. So give me the thumbs up if it's helpful to hear that same message more than once, so that we just kind of remind ourselves, like, this is what we need to be doing. This is what's going to help me get healthier. This is what's going to help me get closer to my goals. I know it for myself. I need to hear the same messaging over and over again. So there's certain people that I follow on Instagram, certain podcasts that I listen to. And yes, for the most part, I know 90% of what I'm hearing, but when I hear it again, it just helps me reinforce it. It helps me stay on track. It helps me from derailing. And if I do derail, I don't totally go off the tracks and go a few weeks without getting back on board. I might go 1-2 days where I derail. And then guess what? I get right back on the tracks because I tap into those constant positive sources of motivation. I know you guys have seen me post it on my stories. I'm sharing that with you guys because I find it helpful. So anytime I'm sharing messages on my Instagram stories or as a post, it's because I find it helpful in my personal life. So I'm sharing that with you guys and paying it forward, because I know if I'm finding it helpful, then I think maybe you guys will find it helpful too. So, if you see that I'm posting a comment or, a post from a certain Instagram influencer, and you find that is motivational to you, or it's helping you stay on track, then follow that same person too. The more we keep sending that same message into our brains, it will sink in. You will make permanent changes, but we just need to keep reminding ourselves of those positive messages. So Tatiana saying, my weakness is sugar, and I'm so glad with Oikos, with the 15 grams of protein and then the keto nut granola. Yes. Excellent choice, Tatiana. You're fueling yourself with something that's higher in those healthy fats from those nuts in that nut granola, and no added sugar. It does have, I think it might have erythritol or monk fruit, but that is going to be better than pure cane sugar. But you just don't want to rely on that too much. But I'm sure she's just using it as a daily snack. But the Greek yogurt, obviously high in protein, and then when she's complementing it with with that higher healthy fat from the nuts in her nut granola. So she's making a great little mini meal for herself there. And I know she's constantly on the go. She's on her feet all day long with her business that she's running. She hardly gets a chance to take a break. So I know that it's difficult for her to have like this proper sit down meal, but that's what she's finding works for her to help curb her sugar cravings. She's still getting a little hit of that sweetness from the protein, the Greek yogurt, and then from that keto nut granola. So excellent job there, Tatiana. That's a great way to keep yourself on track without indulging in something that's not going to keep those energy levels nice and even. That protein and that fat is going to help keep you satisfied. And you're going to be able to have more energy, even energy levels throughout the day. So excellent point there, Tatiana. Thanks for sharing that. What else? What struggles are you having, guys? Is there anything that you want to go through related to meal timing? Any struggles that you're having there? Any struggles with the sugar cravings? Are we finding that the sugar cravings are, that you're better able to deal with it a little bit more now that maybe we are incorporating the savory breakfast? What's up, Chelsea? Okay. Well, if you don't have any questions now, that's okay. Let me know if you think of any later on. Give me a thumbs up if you found this helpful, if there was any nugget of information that is going to help keep you on track going forward. And again, if you are finding that you're struggling with maybe your work schedule is too hectic and you're finding that it's challenging for you to get in, proper meals throughout the day, schedule a focus meeting, guys. All of the trainers are excellent sources of knowledge. They've been there. They've done that. They haven't always been trainers their whole life. So they know how it is to make sure that you get the proper nutrients in throughout the day. And they're very well versed. They have a lot of experience. They're very well knowledgeable. Do not be afraid to schedule a focus meeting. And number one, check in, guys. It's 2 weeks in. So if we don't have our next focus meeting scheduled, go ahead and book it and get it on the books so that you can have a midpoint check-in scheduled before the 7-week challenge is over. But utilize it as time to, get that more detailed, consultation going with you and the trainer that you work with primarily. Tatiana's also saying she's replacing her bread with 647 bread. It's low carb bread. So, Tatiana, let us know what the ingredients are on that one. I'd be really curious. I haven't heard of that bread before, but I will say bread is not necessarily off the table. But your typical white bread made with white flour, yes, let's not use white bread. Let's definitely lean in on your sprouted grain breads, your whole wheat breads, that one bread, that Nature's Own, honey wheat. I will say it's not perfect, but it is one of the better ones for sure. So, if you're not quite at the point where you can incorporate the Ezekiel bread, there are other options out there. Just make sure that you continue reading those labels and make sure that as much as possible, they're nice, clean ingredients. They're definitely out there, but you have to take the time and read the labels on those breads and make sure that, you understand all the ingredients in them. And if we're trying to avoid gluten, there's definitely some gluten-free options as well. I know, in that egg post, I use the Collie Thins as my base. That's basically made with egg, Parmesan cheese, and cauliflower. So, no gluten in that whatsoever. And I do find that, when you toast it up in the toaster oven, it comes up nice and crispy, the same as a piece of toast would of a regular piece of bread. And for me, it satisfies that crunchiness, that I'm looking for. If I'm looking for something like a crunchy piece of toast, I can get it crisped up enough. And there's some nice flavor from that Parmesan cheese that satisfies that craving for me, or that, that taste that I'm looking for when I'm looking for something like a bread type thing. Okay. I also seen, maybe I'll post it on my stories. I found this cloud bread at Costco as well. Same thing. It is made with dairy. So those of us with a dairy intolerance, you might not do so well with it. But I'm finding that even though I have a dairy intolerance, that I can tolerate the cloud bread and the cauli thins. So that one, no gluten in it whatsoever, and it fluffs up just like a piece of bread. So that can be another option of something to pair with our savory breakfast, or as something to complement our lunches with as well. So I'll post a picture of that later so you guys can see what I'm talking about. They do sell it at Costco. I'm a huge fan of Costco. And guys, let's continue sharing on the Burn athletes pages here. If you've come across an easy, simple, tasty recipe that's been working for you, that's been easy for you to incorporate in your meal prep, sharing is caring, guys. So, let's keep the conversation going outside of our weekly deep dives, and outside of camp. Let's share with each other the things that are working and the things that aren't working. Let's keep the conversation going, and let's keep supporting each other. All right. Let's see here. I think that's all I have for the day. Guys, in camp, you'll notice that there's a table set up at both locations. It says letter to me. There's some cards laid out. I know Coach Chase filled out a card for himself as well. I'm challenging all of you guys to think about what goal you would like to achieve over the next 6 months. So take some time today if you get an opportunity to, so that you can fill it out when you get to the gym next time. And, don't think about I want to make sure I hit, 1,800 calories a day and 150 grams of protein. I don't want you to be that specific with it. I want you to think bigger picture, longer term, think about, your goal being, I want to make sure I prioritize my health and well-being over the next 6 months. Maybe your goal is going to be, I'm going to take more time for myself to be able to clear my mind. Maybe I'm going to make more of a point to take, daily 15 to 30 minute walks with my family to reconnect with my family some more. Maybe I'm going to make more of an effort to prioritize getting those whole foods in so that I take care of this temple, which is my body. All right. So think bigger picture, longer term. I don't want you to get down into the nitty gritty for this 6 month goal, but something that you can open up, a letter that you can open up to yourself 6 months from now, to where you can read it and feel that, I did work towards that goal. I have made progress towards that goal. And, and another opportunity to give yourself some kudos that you're doing the right things for yourself. But also to give you a little bit of a stretch goal of like, okay, I have been kind of putting myself on the back burner. So I'm going to make it a point over this next 6 months that I'm going to do X, Y, and Z to care for myself a little bit better, or to fill my cup a little bit better so that I am better able to pour into my family and friends' cup as well. All right, guys. So, awesome. Good seeing you guys. I've seen you guys in camp. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Let me know again if any other questions, and, stay on track. Let me know how I can help. And you guys are doing great. Keep up with the gold stickers. I want to see more. And guys, you have an opportunity here where you can, beat my streak. I was able to go 12 days in a row, but I will say over that anniversary weekend, I didn't give myself 2 gold stars. So let's see if anyone can beat my streak and get 12 or more days in a row. I challenge you to it, guys. All right. Have an awesome one. I will see you soon. And if you didn't make it into camp yet, it's a good one. Make sure you make it in tonight. All right, guys, have a good one and see you soon. Bye.